Good morning to you. Mark Seth, HurricaneTrack.com here. I want to talk about Nicole. It's pretty early in the morning, about 5:20 a.m. I have been out all night, all day, setting up equipment, starting yesterday afternoon from the, where was I? Outer Banks of North Carolina. I'm tired. Outer Banks of North Carolina all the way down to Vero Beach. Had a lot of different people helping me. Huge thank you to them. You know all. You all know who you are, and I really appreciate your help. So let's talk about Nicole and the impacts that are coming, and just kind of remind you of what's ahead here, not only for Florida, but really for Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas. This will be a big impact system. It really will. A very significant, eventually going to be a hurricane for the month of November. You know, certainly impactful and historic in that nature, and for what's going to happen, like in reality, to Florida, to the Carolinas. But where are we? Where do we start? Well, it's 70 miles per hour as of the 4 a.m. advisory. Pressure 985. That's going to start to go down again, I do believe. I'll show you why. And it's moving west-southwest. A little bit of a southerly component there to the track at 13 miles per hour. Satellite animation. There is some deeper convection starting to develop near the core and the center overall. Just a huge area of energy out here. Strong high pressure up here to the north, keeping it blocked, creating that pressure gradient between the high and the low pressure, funneling that wind towards the southeast coast of the United States like this. And then right near the center there, yes, Nicole is developing some deeper thunderstorms. That will help to lower those pressures, tighten up the wind field, concentrate it more, and that could bring a pretty significant landfall event somewhere down here to southeast Florida, where the winds could be stronger near hurricane force. We'll look at that in more detail as we zoom in on our interactive tracking map here. All right, so this is what we're thinking. Remember, it's got a huge wind field, you know, basically something like this, just this enormous area of tropical storm force wind, and some of that's actually getting close to the coast already, and all of that's going to be moving towards Florida over the next several hours throughout the day, Wednesday through Wednesday night. Unfortunately, this is going to come in at night. Where will it make landfall? Probably the center, just the center here we're talking about, just south of Port St. Lucie, at least on the latest advisory, maybe somewhere just north of West Palm Beach. This means your onshore flow is going to be up here, piling up that ocean against Florida, creating a storm surge, ocean overwash, especially at times of high tide, coastal flooding issues, you name it, dunes getting eroded, the wind down there already strong. I saw it myself while I was out there setting up cams and weather stations. Yeah, it's a big deal. It really is. What about south of where the center makes landfall? And let's just assume it's West Palm to Miami, south of the center, offshore flow, less impacts, but remember, less doesn't mean zero, not in this situation. The heavy rain that could come in there, that big population center of extreme southeast Florida from West Palm down to Miami, I-95, the Turnpike, I-75 that goes over to Naples, just stay home if you can. Seriously, as this moves in, just avoid it, because boy, driving down there on a good day can be rough. I cannot imagine during the approach of what should be a hurricane. Then it looks like it's going to briefly enter the Gulf of Mexico over here north and west of Tampa. So there could be some storm surge risk up here to parts of the Big Bend down to the Nature Coast. And then after that, yeah, it keeps going. It's not done when it hits Florida. This thing's going to turn the corner, head up into the southeast, and bring the threat of severe weather to this area. There's going to be some severe weather down here today, potentially. Kind of a big deal overall. I mean, I talked about this several days ago, and it is coming to fruition. A rare November, almost hurricane. I'm going to get a few hours of sleep after I do this video, and I'm sure when I wake up, Nicole will be a hurricane. So this is a big problem coming up. It's not Ian, no. It's different than Ian. It's a much larger system than Ian, and it's going to have different impacts for different people than Ian did. So don't try to compare the two, or don't dismiss this. Oh, it's not an Ian. What's everybody making a big deal out of it? Well, when it's all said and done, you'll see the pictures and the videos and the reports from people and you'll understand for those that just don't quite get it. A very, very impactful event for quite a lot of people. So let me show you real quick, if I can stop doing those arrows, some of these cameras that I have set up across the southeast here. Let's take the permanent ones off because these are just the ones for the storm. So several of them we started, actually let's see if the one does pop up because it is part of the permanent collection up here in Rodanthe. Here's the pier, this is permanent. This one looks south, has got some schmutz on the camera lens there. But this is the other one. This is the one that I set up just for the event, and I really had some good help with this from several people. And again, you know who you are. That's the ocean coming in under these houses in Rodanthe. This is just going to get higher and higher and cause some more beach erosion up there. And this is from the onshore flow, that fetch and the gradient wind that we talk about so often with these systems here. The high pressure to the north, the low pressure to the south. Speaking of the south, here's the camera that I set up at the Charleston battery. Now, this is interesting because the forecast from the flood guidance suggests that Thursday morning, this could see some serious flooding here in the Charleston battery. The guidance predicting 8.4 feet into major flood category. So we'll talk about that more in an update that I will do hopefully later today. Probably do one when I get up and before I head out. But anyway, the Charleston battery area, downtown Charleston, and other areas along the low country of South Carolina, you could be looking at a significant surge event and just coastal flooding as a whole from this Nicole. All right, where else do we have cams? Let's just keep on moving down the coast. A pair of them up here, one at Amelia Island. If this will populate here, it's dark still, of course. This will be really interesting to watch as well as we get through the next several hours. And then just moving down the coast, a pair of cams over at the Palm Coast area. This one is really interesting too. I purposefully put the live cam down on one of the pilings of this walkway over in Palm Coast. It's hard to see because it's still dark, but that's the dune right there. And there's perfect timing. There's some overwash. Well, not quite overwash, but if there was a dune there, it would overwash it or try to. And this just keeps getting chewed away from these waves that come in and agitate it. And this is just going to get worse and worse throughout the day. It'll be interesting to monitor, especially after sunup. And then there's another one that faces north. So we have one facing south, one facing north. And then there are two GoPros there as well to monitor this in high resolution, very high definition. I mean, look, you can already see that water level coming up there. It's going to chew away at these dunes over here. A lot of this kind of already on the bad side of things. It was heavily impacted from Ian. And just finally moving on down the coast here, show you this. We have a weather station with wind data on the bridge that goes over. It's the 192 bridge, is what I call it anyway, that goes over to Melbourne Beach, out of Melbourne. Hard to see with the light behind it, but that's the anemometer. It's kind of backlit. There's the anemometer right there. And I think that the wind data is showing up. Let's see, is it popping up in there? Or is this just, yeah, so the air temperature, the sensor is inside the box. So the air temperature is not 83. It's a little warm in the box. The box does breathe, so the air pressure, that's important, 10, 12 millibars. And the wind data is getting reported and recorded on another page that we have on our insider site. And I'll certainly tweet that out later, some screenshots from it. So that's a look at our assets that we've placed out for this event. Might set something up over here later. We'll see how much energy I have got. I got to sleep at some point, right? All right. A couple of really important things here before I let you go. Severe weather risk, yes, it is there, especially along parts of the eastern portion of the peninsula of Florida. The tornado threat, non-zero, 2 to 5%. Okay, that's way, way, way greater odds, or greater as in more favorable than winning that Powerball where somebody won basically $1 billion after taxes. If you had a 5% chance of winning that thing, you'd probably buy a bunch of tickets, right? So a 5% chance of tornadoes there in the eastern part of Florida. Not much wind area related to severe weather because you got basically a hurricane coming, and certainly no hail issues. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow is important too because that severe threat expands to the southeast as a whole, and this could be a fairly prolific tornado producer in those bands as they come off the ocean. The dry air, just it's kind of a clash of seasons going on. So please pay attention to this as well. Make sure your phone is nearby so you can get alerts on it, or your NOAA weather radio. The severe weather threat for Thursday could be fairly substantial for a much larger area, 2% all the way up to the Carolinas there, interior parts, and then 5% down towards the coast. And again, the wind and hail threat not associated with the would-be hurricane, some wind and hail issues in parts of the plains. Well, no hail, but you get the idea. I'm really focusing on this. But, hey, we don't want to ignore what we're seeing there with that slight risk either. Always good to be aware. All right, just to show you the dynamics of what's going on, this is pretty crazy, you got to admit. We'll use sky blue. This is all your winter stuff setting up. Big old trough over here. Blizzard warnings up here for parts of the plains, the upper plains. Wow. Then hurricane stuff, hurricane season related problems down here with that big ridge trapping everything, a summer-like pattern with winter knocking on the door very, very close by. All right, one last thing, and then I'm out of here. I got to go to sleep myself. Rain, yes, this is exactly what I was talking about. Perfect. Heavy rain down the I-95 corridor through Palm Beach to Miami. That's going to continue to be a problem. You can't quite see the center, and it doesn't really have a well-defined core yet, but the center of Nicole is over here somewhere, and this is going to continue across to the west-southwest and eventually turn the corner, something like that. And things are just going to get worse as the day progresses for our friends in the Sunshine State. All right, that is it from me. I am, of course, on YouTube. That's where you're watching this. So please subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you don't mind. If you don't like it, that's okay too. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I put these together for you because I care. I do. I want to show you what I'm passionate about and teach you some of the things that I know along the way. And then, of course, importantly, notification. Hit that bell and share the video with your friends and family and whomever, and try to spread the word as to what we're doing. And also, too, Twitter, with all of its whatever's going on with, who bought it, they have the @HurricaneTrack. Well, YouTube does the same thing. They call that a handle. @HurricaneTrack is Twitter, and @HurricaneTrack on YouTube for what it's worth. Just thought I'd make that mention. If you want to follow, it's easy to do both, @HurricaneTrack. All right? I'm going to go get some Z's for about 6 hours or so, and then I'm going to head out this afternoon and go down towards the landfall zone, meet up with a couple of colleagues, and document it in person down there in a safe and responsible manner. At least that's the intention, if nature will allow. You all have a good rest of your Wednesday. As always, thanks for tuning in. I'm Mark Sudduth. I'll see you live from YouTube. I'll be out there on YouTube. That's where we stream later on today.